Hey, hey, hey. Welcome, everybody, to the Really Charlie podcast. Today's guest is the not infamous, but the famous Coach Steve Gardiner. I love this dude, track and field coach at New Bedford High School and also UMASS Dartmouth. You know, from when I first met him, I said, wow, that's a good dude, and then I found out you were the track coach. I said, yes. So it was good. I, I just ran track to keep in shape for football, and my 1 year there experience with you was great. And may rest in peace, Darren. He was another good dude for me.
Absolutely.
Actually, a great dude.
Yep.
You dearly missed.
We got a memorial for Darren UMass Dartmouth. Right underneath the scoreboard, there's a rock with a plaque. His ashes are there. And his mom, God rest her soul, she's died during this pandemic. She passed away in, I believe it was April. But she'd go over there and plant flowers because she didn't live too far from the campus. So, yeah, anytime anybody's on the track, up underneath that scoreboard, up around the turn, there's a good-sized rock with a plaque right on it talking about Darren, what he contributed through his life.
I'm gonna make sure that I go there this week. That's definitely something I didn't know, and
that's when we'd have our team meetings the day before a meet. We'd meet there at the Rock, so he was still part of our program.
Man, that's awesome. I didn't even know that. Wow, that's cool. We when I was doing this podcast, I was always thinking about somebody, people I can interview, and always trying to get an inspirational story out there. You're clearly inspirational. You're a mentor to many of us, and I'm just glad, especially when some of my friends have and your former players have were noticing that you were coming on. They were all excited, and so what we're gonna do is, if they come on and they want to get an invite, we'll put them on the screen too. So
all right.
So
this could be like This Is Your Life. This could be like
yeah. So why don't we we were off here and we were talking about sports, track and field, and it led to us talking about someone that's dear to both of us, and that's Andre McCoy. Can you share a story with us?
Yeah, the story we were talking off air about was, I just mentioned that I knew Andre, as a student, and I love boxing, and particularly back then, even more so. I been to a lot of fights, a lot of Golden Gloves fights when they used to be at the Lincoln Park. And Andre had phys ed his senior year, and he changed up in the first aisle of the locker room. And there were not a lot of kids though. There was pretty much him and another athlete by the name of Tony Williams, whose dad was Red Williams, a custodian at the school, who's passed away. And ended up that their period was the same period the kids from what's called the CHOP program, the special mentally challenged, physically challenged students. They can be up to 21 years of age while they're in the program. And back in those days, there weren't many teacher aides. And in their particular situation, it was a woman or a couple of women who would bring them down to phys ed. So they couldn't come into the locker room. And those kids would go in, they'd change on that first aisle, but a lot of them needed help. And Tony and Andre took it upon, no one told them. The women aides had asked me, hey, I was off that period, could you, just check on them? But I didn't even ask Tony and Andre. They ended up, whether it was tying a kid's shoes for him, making sure he got his clothes put away. They did it Andre did it most of the year. Unfortunately, he had his tragic death with a plane crash later that year. But those two guys, without anyone telling them, did that. And, of course, we're talking about Andre here. It just showed me the type of character, the type of person he was. And we'd talk every day at phys ed. And one of the other stories I shared with him was, back then, Wide World Sports, there was no cable. Well, cable was just coming out. So it's just starting. ESPN had just started. I think it was Wide World Sports was doing a boxing series, amateur boxing, in the lead for the 80 Olympics. And so you got to familiar with some of the top amateur boxers in the country. And one guy in his weight class was a guy, Alex Ramis from the Bronx in New York. And so I asked him one day, what would happen if you met Alex Ramis, if you guys end up meeting in the Olympic trials finals? And he goes, I'll break his heart. I'll just break his heart. And it was funny. I mean, Andre was about 6'2", and weighed 168. I mean, so he had a reach that usually wasn't in that weight class. You're fighting guys 5'8" to 5'10" generally, and it's sitting there at 6'2", with those long arms of his. And he just a good person, very good person.
That's a great story. I wish I had known that when I wrote the book. I mean, that would have been a great story. Probably one of the first ones I would put in that book. I'm looking to probably do another one, but I got to talk to Jeff some more and see if that's what they want to do. There's so many stories out there about them, and we definitely can't forget them. Got to keep them still standing, as I say.
Exactly. Tell Jeff I said hello, and I'll still plan on getting him out for track at some point. He never came out. I think it would have been a great output. I see Phil, Steve Drayton's mom saying hi. Hi.
Yeah. It was her birthday a couple of days ago. Happy birthday, Miss.
Oh yeah, happy birthday. Yeah. Her son made me look awful good.
Yeah.
Steve. Yeah.
Love the Fields family. They're outstanding. And the craziest thing is we all know you as track and field historian, and you throw those stats out like it was off the back of your hand. It's great.
Well, obviously that's one I can't fix anything in the house. I know how to basically even change a light bulb, but statistics and what kids do stick in my mind,
Wow.
And I think part of it was every season I would type up a booklet for every kid to get. So if you ran cross country, you'd get one that was like 80 pages long, every meet result and the history of the program and stuff. And indoor, the same thing, and then spring. And so if you ran 12 seasons, you'd get 12 booklets at the end. And by typing those results up, I think the times and the distances and the heights, everything just kind of stay in my head. And sometimes I still have the booklet, so I can go back if I'm a little shaky on what somebody. I can always look it up and say, "Oh, okay." Even with that, sometimes I have them going further than because that's just natural. You always scored more points, so you scored more touchdowns than you really did. And the same thing with track, but luckily the booklet tells the truth, and you didn't run. It's funny. I had somebody reach out to me. He'll remain nameless and said, "How come I don't have a 10.5? I know I ran 10.5 in the 100 meters, but you'd be like 9.5, 9.6 in the old 100 yards." And I'm thinking, geez, how did he ever think that? Mm-hmm. And I'm telling him, geez, I private message him back. I'm sorry, you never ran that. Mm-hmm. And then I go back, I grab the booklets, and I saw what happened. And some years with splits don't really count, and particularly in 100, you're getting a real advantage in a relay. But we split him in a relay in a 4x1 at 10.5, and of course in his mind. So I said, in a way, you did run 10.5, but it was on a relay leg with a running stop before you got the baton. And even though we timed everyone as 100 meters, we didn't care whether you had the baton or not. Once you hit that 100-meter mark on each relay, that's what we had the watch going. I might have everybody in every zone, so we'd combine them all the times at the end of the race and make sure we got an accurate reading on it. So we could see who's running their leg straightaways. Obviously, would be faster than the turns. Leading off, you're going to be slower because you're going out of the blocks. But just kind of get an idea who's best on the turn, who's best on the straightaway. Some people don't run turns well, and he did run a 10.5, but it was a relay leg. That's like almost a second probably advantage he's getting, I had to burst his bubble. As he's about 35 years old. He had his chest all out for about the last 15 years, but unfortunately, still good, still good.
I remember all the records you kept on the wall rather, and that was one of the first things going around that from the hallway to your office, and actually seeing that was nice to see.
Great motivator and stuff. I was just thinking of this today because I ran to someone, they asked me if I knew people from my first team, a certain person from the first team. I said, oh yeah, I know him very well and so forth. And I used to put, like you said, we had two record boards. We had the one inside the gym phys ed office, the big one. And then we'd have one on the bulletin board for the current season, the top 3 in each event, just to try to motivate the kids. I want to get on that board. Let's say I have one of the 3 best jumps or times or distances in my particular team. And it really, that would really work. It'd really get kids to kind of want to, they're close, maybe in the high jump, and they're the 4th high jumper, and they want to get their name. And we just have a little label. We just put another label on top of the one, and just every week we just keep changing the thing. Just as things went on, but it really worked good to motivate the kids and kind of keep them hungry.
True. It I remember going I think it was my senior year, and look at the board. No, actually it was junior year. I look at the board, and I just got through talking to Coach Barboza. I forget what we were talking about. I don't know. It's something. And then I look up, and then here's his name. It's still at a record,
Yeah. And, that stayed there until 1995, I think. And then, he broke it before the kid Richard Woodbury ended up jumping 23.7 in the. I brought him to a college meet actually at Harvard, is indoors to see, and he went 23.7 there, and he'd made the final. There was like the Reggie Lewis Center and some of these other places, so teams were up. Now there's a lot of the colleges have really nice indoor facilities. Back then they'd come up to Boston to be in private tracks. So North Carolina was there, UNC was there, University of Florida was there, the Gators, all these teams, and Richie makes the final and comes in 5th. And then since then we had a guy, but that was indoor. So that's Ron actually still a record, Mr. Barboza.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Rose, my last year in 2008, jumped 23.2 to break it. And then John Williams, who graduated in 2010, he was a sophomore my last year at New Bedford High, and he jumped 22 something as a sophomore. So he was obviously on his way. He jumped 23.10 and won the New England's, in the long jump. So it took a long time who knows what kind of shoes Ron Barboza was wearing and what the runway was like that he was on in 1965 when he did that. So everything in your era, if you had the best at that point, you're still with the record holder. He's still in our top 10 list at New Bedford. He's high up on that list. So he had it for a long time. And when Jeff broke it outdoors, Ronnie came out, took pictures with him and stuff, and shared the moment with him afterwards. So that was very nice. And Jeff appreciated it very much.
Jeff was one of them soft-spoken guys, kind of. He played football also, right?
Right, real gentleman. Yes.
He can't speak enough about him. I always like 100, 220. Think that you definitely had me running at 220.
Now, did you graduate? Is 85 or 86?
85.
85. Okay.
I think it was first time I ran. It was in Seekonk. So
it was a bad
it was scared out of my mind. I said, "Oh my God!" And
what happened?
What?
Jimmy Gomes.
Yep.
Jimmy Gomes, a football player, great football player. Jimmy Gomes is high jumping at Seekonk, and they had a bit in the parking lot off this little, was about the size of a postage stamp.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes off, and we were trying to teach him that he was good. He jumped, I think, about 6 feet, but it's just first year doing it. But he traveled too much, and they never missed the pit over to how many people come from this side. I missed the complete pit and hit on his back in the parking lot. Wow. And thank God, not thank God, I'm sure Jimmy wouldn't want to hear thank God it was him at Atlanta, but he was such a tough kid that he got scraped up a bit, and I couldn't believe he was quote fine, but that would have been a disaster for almost anybody else. I always think that, oh my goodness, that poor kid. It wasn't any turf he landed on or anything. Oh, Jeff's mom is there. Hi.
I said Laurie is
You just heard about her son.
a great woman.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And so, I mean, Jeff, he was smooth. I always wanted him to run the ball more in football. I was
Yeah.
like, give him the ball.
Mm.
But I definitely love Jeff. We had actually Laurie leaves another comment for us here.
Oh. Thank
Such
you.
a great mentor to my son. Yes. Now I'm thinking, on an average, you probably had from 3,000 to 4,000 students going in that school in the early part of the early years,
Yeah.
and so was it always, a huge picking, or was it, I know that growing up, you had, my dad, my mom were always, mainly my mom, my uncles, always trying to keep me involved in something. So in that school, thousands of kids, it was like a little town in the city,
Mm.
4,000 people at a whack, sometimes 1,000 kids a house. The numbers have shrunk down, so and it's sad to see that. I wish more kids were coming out. So as you're selecting these kids, I mean, I don't remember cutting anybody.
Yeah. No, we never did that.
Yeah, and so you always had a huge abundance, and I remember Darren. He was always talking to us constantly, over and over again. Even when we seen him out in the neighborhood, definitely a good dude. And you definitely are the same. And we had two great coaches with us that we can talk to. No, regardless of what it was, you were always there for us.
Well, Darren, my first year as head coach, I coached with Dick Pont in '76 as an assistant. And then I went off and coached at Aponequid for 2 years because I never thought Dick was I wasn't teaching at New Bedford at the time. I was just working night shift at a supermarket loading shelves, looking for a teaching job. And my man Big Daddy. So anyways, there coaching. Then I came back when Pont decided not to start coaching, and Darren was a freshman that year, the fall of '78, '79. He didn't run that year. Came up to me at the end of that year and said, I'd like to run track next year. And that's how we started. So I had him his last years. One of the captains I ever had in two. And when he came back from the Marine Reserves, he started coaching with me. But it was just great. I've knew him from his first year until he passed away in 2017. And we didn't coach, or he didn't coach with me all the time through that, but we always stayed in contact. And when I got to UMASS, the UMass team was a little off, let's just say, in what New Bedford High was. And after my first year, I got a hold of him and said, Darren, I need help over here. We got to build from like scratch almost. And he goes, I've been waiting for you to call me. I said, he had his own contracting business. I said, home improvement stuff. I said, can you be here by 3:30 every day? He goes, absolutely. And then for the next, I guess it would have been from the year 2009 to 2017. So about 10 years, that'd be what? No, 8 years, but 9 seasons between indoors and outdoors, 18 seasons. If you look at it that way. My right hand, and all through that time, the kids, they call him Papa Dad. So,
who was Coach Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it says him and Coach Kelly. So it's got another comment here. Let's see what it says here.
Oh, okay. I was gonna. Well, that's when you were talking about the size of the team wedding. I'd actually recruit from either the CHOP program or special needs or whatever. Tracy Lurie was an AU, and I don't know how he came out with us. I didn't. He was the catalyst for me doing that later on because it was such a great experience, obviously for him, for the kid team. And Tracy, I mean, if he was at another high school, he might have been first team sprints. But I mean, I had Kippy Andre, Steve Drayton, Gary Benoit, Sean Walt, Leroy Tolentino. I had some good sprinters, and so his heats, he would win. And so we go to Dennis Yarmouth, and back to that was the worst one. That was like on the beach, and their coaches said, "Oh, I heard you have a Special Olympian on your team." Because I've got a couple.
Yep.
A special race. So I'm going, this guy doesn't know what he's getting himself into. You're going to be running, these poor kids are going to be running against a man, right? So they get out there, and of course, Tracy just blows these poor kids away. They all are happy just to compete anyway, But, he won by, the 100 by like half the length of the 100. I mean, the 200, they're coming off the turn. He's already finished, And I get on the bus after the meet, and I start going over what we did in the meet. And I had every intention to talk about Tracy, but as I'm saving it, but as I'm going through it and saying this happened, the shot put and this, and Leroy Tolentino, for instance, jumped in. And as I get to the pole vault and Nello Ortiz, and I'm saying Nello, I have make eye contact with the kids where they bus before. We're still sitting in the parking lot. I've forgotten about Tracy now, to bring him up because I'm kind of in varsity mode right now of what we did there. And as I'm talking about Nello and pumping him up, he just jumped 13 feet or wherever he dumped in the pole vault. He's mouthing to me, Tracy, quietly, just mouthing it. And I kind of give him, all right, yeah. So I save it to the end. And then I go through, and the best thing of the race of the day was Tracy in the 100 and the 220. He won both. And everybody goes nuts on the bus screaming for him. There's Tracy sitting in. He's putting his hands like he's so excited. And I ran to him, Shore Supermarket, just a few years ago. I was already asked, so it wasn't too long ago. He was with a social worker. Tracy now, at this point, say this was 2015. So he would have been about 50 years old. And he remembered. I remember, I recognized a picture of me and him, the social worker. And he goes, how do you know him? And so I told the social worker the story. So this kid was a top star in track and field. He was something. But that led me to have quite a lot of other kids over the years. And it was great for the team. It taught they would have to maybe help the kid with their locker, make sure they got across Parker Street all right. Just tell them their workouts. Just make them feel part of things. And it was great to see how the kids responded to that. They learned a lot from those kids as much as those kids benefited from them.
Was that the young kid that they called Trey also? Did they call him Trey also?
I don't remember if they did. I don't think so.
Yeah.
They might have, but I don't think so. I think it was just called him Tracy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's just trying to figure out who he was. I know I definitely seen him. We got Reggie talking about and Nathan said, what to say? It's going to lead to
well, the second in that family.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait for Benson to come on and make it a complete. Benson won't show his face on this because I have to tell him a great story a joke I pulled on Benson once, but I can't. I wouldn't do it. One of my greatest practical jokes ever on Rodney Victor.
I gave someone I can't think of who it was. Gave one of the victors my shoes. Something happened. They needed to wear mines. So I mean, I'm only 5'7", and the victors are so tall. I said, "There's no way you're gonna fit in my shoes." Hey, and he wore them. Hey, what's his name? It's
Not Patrick, not Reggie, Rodney.
Ronnie. Oh my God.
Rodney's shorter than those other two. Those other two would, you know.
But anyway, he put him on. He did his meet. I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "This must be killing him." So
That's another thing. Some of the things kids hear, that we had. Here's a story. We
yeah,
we go to. This is one of my last years at New Bedford High. We started having our duels even during the week at the Lewis Center.
yep,
But they said you can't wear spikes during the week. On the weekend meets you can wear spikes, but not for dual meets Monday through Friday. So I'm thinking, how are some of these kids gonna, they could, I guess, practice in their sneakers or whatever they're wearing at practice. I guess they could wear those, but why would you work hard all week and not even wearing hard hoppers to racing? The owner of this, it's called George and Phillips Specialty Shoes up in Exeter, Hampshire, and I've dealt with him for a lot. He's nice, and I told him the story. I said, "Do you have any seconds or anything that's going out that I could buy, any size?" So he gave me a great deal on like 20-25 shoes, spikes that the ones that you could put the spikes in or take them out. So we could wear them both weeks. You could there was no plastic on it. It was all rubber sole with just the places to put the spikes in. So you could waffle spikes or put spikes in. So we'd show up to the meets during the week at Reggie at the Lewis Center with garbage bags filled with these shoes. And so I tell the kids, just take when you need them, put them on. When you're done, tie them back together, put them back in the bag so somebody else can wear them in another event. And that's how we're going through the season. So we get near the end of the season, and back then being in the big three, we didn't have many meets. So what we have would be bigger meets at the end. So unfortunately, the kids who weren't good enough to be going to the big meets, this season would be over by like January 20th or something. And we're going all the way to the end of February, early March, and maybe at least late February. And so the kids we're down to maybe is the best 15 or 20 kids. I told him, all right, if you've been borrowing shoes after this next Saturday meet we went to, I said, don't put them back in the bag. You hold on to them to the end of the season, and then put them in the bag. We'll have them for the next season. So we get up for the Division One, or the Class A meet. They changed it now to Division One. And I told the kids during the week, change your spikes. I'll have spikes here in the gym during the week. Get them changed out so we don't have any problems Saturday morning changing your shoes. And I don't want to, we're not dealing with that on Saturday. We got a meet we're competing in. We get up to the meet, and I'm not going to say his name. He's a wonderful boy. It was his first year running track, and he qualified in the 600. Yeah. And that's the second event. So he's in the bleachers at the Lewis Center, and he's changing the spikes. And anyone knows me, I may be easy going, but if you don't do what I've told you, I've been known to kind of lose my temper. And so I look at him, and I go, what are you doing? And I said, I told you to get that done during the week. You're supposed to be warming up. I go, give me those shoes. So I grab the spikes. I go, you go in the gym and stop warming up. I'll change your spikes. And I got 2 right-footed shoes in my hands. So I yelled to him. He's going away from the bleachers. I go, hey, what do you call this? You got 2 right-footed shoes here. You've been running these all year? And he goes, yeah. And I go, why would you think you should wear 2-footed shoes? He goes, I thought it helped me get around the turns better. He qualified for the Class A meet in 2 right-footed shoes. And that's what he wore that day. He ran like a 127 in the 600 first year ever running track. And then the next fall, he was a junior that year, that boy. He hadn't done any sports until that winter of his junior year. The next fall, he was a Boston Globe All-Scholastic in cross country.
Wow.
He came to the top 10 in the whole state in cross country.
You can't
in a matter of like 10 months. That's talent, But yeah, he wore right-footed shoes the whole indoor season.
Can't make that up. Who's this?
Jeff Rose would know who I'm talking about because Jeff was on that team. He'd know that story. Jeff was like a junior that year, as was that boy. They both were juniors. Oh my God! Gracious.
Yeah.
Great meets in Falmouth. His son, you should see his son run. His son ran at Penn. Elias, great 800 meter run, and just the whole family is just wonderful people.
That's good.
But Ricky's another one. One of the greatest captains I ever had is Ricky too. He was on that '80 team that was New England champions as a team. Which they don't score that meet anymore.
Hmm.
And actually, they're gonna stop scoring this all state meet now. It's only gonna score like what you know as Class A or we know as Division One. They're not gonna have a team score for the all state meet. What a shame.
Wow.
And that kind of ruined the New England when they took the scoring away from the New England meet. To me, it took off a little bit of the aura to the meet that it always had. It wasn't as important. Some kids didn't go. Not as many kids go to the New Englands as they used to go. It's not uncommon for kids to pass on the New Englands. You never heard that
Hmm.
back in the 70s and early part of the 80s. But once they took that team score away in '84, it started really deteriorating as a meet, which is unfortunate.
That's too bad.
Mm.
Too bad. No, I used to. I mean, my well, track and field's always been in my life because of Keithy Francis.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Keithy's mom was right next door to us in the Bay Village.
Mm.
And I always tell this story that you mentioned earlier about TV and so he was on the ABC, and I knew he was going to be running that day. So we're sitting, and one of the guys said, he says, Charlie, he said, he's telling us about Keithy's running. And I took off. I ran. I mean, I never ran so fast through the Bay Village, get to my cousin's house, ran, watched him. And it was so amazing just seeing, Keithy just a couple of days before that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And now we see TV. So
fantastic. Yeah. He was an 800-meter runner was his main thing, although he had the American junior record in the 1,000. He said juniors means you're under 20 years of age.
Yep.
And he set the American record, and that was his first year at Boston College. But he made one shot at the time. No Black American had broken 4 minutes in the mile. It hadn't been done.
Yep.
And so they had this thing on Channel 5. And this was, I don't know what year it was. He was still at BC. So it might have been around 1975 or so. And it was called New England's attempt at the sub 4 minute mile because no one ever had run under 4 minutes on New England soil either at that time. And Keith just said, I'll give it a shot. He didn't really train for it. He was training for 100. And I don't know this for a fact, but I heard he loved basketball. I heard he actually was playing basketball earlier in the day, and they went over there. He ran like 4:00.8, just missed it. And then a few, maybe a month or two later, it was like three. It was Tommy Fulton, Dennis Fikes, and Reggie McAfee. Reggie McAfee was North Carolina. Fikes was from Penn, and Tommy Fulton was from Texas Southern. They were all seriously going after this to be the first one. I can't remember which one of the three. They all broke it, but I can't remember which one did it first. He made one shot at it. It's like, I'll just give it a shot. And he was such a talent, and was another guy. Was just a gentleman, just a nice guy, and left us too soon.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to write, a book on him, just like I did with Andre, and but I needed his permission, and at that point, he just wasn't taking any phone calls or anything like that, and so I never got his permission, and till this day, I'll not, I won't write it, only because I wanted my mentor to tell me, go ahead, give it a shot, and but
well, when he ran at New Bedford High. I wasn't his coach. He was 2 years younger than me. Dick Pont was his coach in track. And Steve Caton, who owns the rock climbing building there by the old Keith.
Yep.
He's the proprietor and entrepreneur of that. Guy David Sylvia and Richard Nichols. And Richard Nichols, absolutely gone too soon. But Richard Nichols he's been an attorney for Sugar Ray Leonard, Edwin Moses, Marion Jones. He's just a fantastic person. That was the distance medley team, and they ran down on Randall's Island in New York in 1971 because Sylvia and Caton were a year older than Nichols and Francis. And they They won that day. They won on a line with Sylvia. Sylvia went to Tennessee. Kate went to Georgetown. Nichols went to Dartmouth College, not UMass Dartmouth, but Dartmouth College. And Keith went to Boston College. They're all big time athletes. And it was the number 2 time ever run in the history of the distance medley in the country for high schools. Wow. And at one point, even just recently, it was still in the top 20 ever run for a time. Even, and that was 1971. I'd say like in the early 2000s, it was still in the top 20. Yeah, just like 4 superstars all there at the same time. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't expect you to have favorites, and because of you had some outstanding teams, and with I'm not even going to ask you this question,
Even people do. I was expecting you to ask. I have an answer for you.
All right, who's your favorite team?
Favorite team?
Yeah.
Team. Well, the thing, I really don't have one as far as the team, but the thing is, some people think it's one that won a title, and they are special because the ones that won those state titles or whatever. But it's also some that didn't, but gave you everything they had, and they pretty much maxed out for what a 15, 16, or 17 or 18-year-old kid could do. I mean, yeah, they, as far as just being there every day, on time, full of heart and passion for the what they were doing in the sport. And so there's other ones too. So they didn't necessarily have to be a championship team. And I know those ones that did always argue amongst each other who was the better one. Was 80 better than 83 or 93 or 95 or 02? And the ones that won the all-state teams. And then the ones I was part of he would have run into 4 minutes if he didn't have his afro gun. It's probably true. Should have put it in braids. Yeah. So, and in 76, my first year, I was Dick's assistant. They won the all-state meet. And then there's a guy, Larry Oliver and Benny and the 65 team was very good. And they were just starting to have state meet wasn't around until 62, all-state meets. Before that was just the class. But they all have their, can argue it's different times and different conditions everyone ran in. They all were good. But some that didn't win, it might have just been that they ran into a year that there was a team that was just spectacular. And we had some great teams that you were on, 85 and beyond through 89. We never won an all-state title during that 5 years. Cambridge, Ringe, and Latin was their time, and they were just spectacular. And we couldn't get by them, And the year after you graduated in 86, some of the same of your teammates, we won. Laurie. Thank you, Laurie. And we won Class A's. Timmy Jakes won the pole vault. John Borowitz won the javelin. Dusty Cormier won the shot put, and Dana Burgo won the high jump. We won 4 out of the 7 field events and lost the meet. We got on the track. We didn't score as much, but Cambridge was just coming at you. All the way through, and that set them up. They were on their way for the next 4 or 5 years. They won most of those, and like I said, we had some good teams. We just couldn't get past them. But the good thing was we were always there. We were always in the hunt. Whether we didn't win or not, it was was the effort there, and that's really pretty much. Not too many years did I end up with. You're gonna have some issues, particularly if you're in tune, you're not oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah,
the pretty quotes and the track errors. Yeah, honestly, they had a mentor like people are mentioning, and that's really how I try to use the sport as like a carrot in front of it. If you had a kid hooked on things you could make that kid do, wanted to do as far as behavior, attention to detail, and becoming productive citizens, you could get them because you've got to motivate it as an athlete. Now you can get them to be, all right, how important it is to be punctual, how important it is to be polite, and that sort of thing. And another person, I've actually mentioned this individual's name during all the names I've mentioned today, but I won't say who it was, but went out to dinner. Kippy Andrade is stayed in contact for 40 years with me. And when he comes back from UMass Amherst, where he works to visit his mom, we usually have dinner. So he goes, I got a few special guests for you. This was a couple of years ago. We go down to the Greasy Luck, and I meet them there. And there's a few guys there. from that era. So we're talking and joking, whatever, as we're eating. And this one guy goes, Coach, I never knew you were this funny. And I go, you think for a second when you were 17 years old, I was going to let you see this side of me? I said, Kippy saw that side of me because I knew I could count on him to do the right things. But you, I wasn't going to give you an inch because if I gave you an inch, you'd take a yard. And I go, so now we can relax. You're 50 years old and you're doing the right things. But I was worried about you when you were 16 or 17 years old. I said, how many times did I put you in the visit office at 5 o'clock to try to counsel you, and try and get you to do the make. I said, it wasn't you doing the wrong things. I just saw that sparkle in your eye that you could possibly be led the wrong things. And so I wanted to make sure you didn't do it. So I wasn't going to show you. There was going to be no fooling around with me or no joking with me when it came to you. It was going to be, this is business and this is what we're doing, yeah, we had a thing. Probably you saw it when I'm not sure where we warmed up with you during outdoor. If you met at the track, or I probably met at the track, but in the gym, when we warmed up, like in the winter in the gym, 2:30 was practice time. If you came in at 2:30:01, you're doing push-ups or something. There was no, you're there on time. And if you weren't on time for the bus when we were leaving for meet, I left it. See you later. Be on time. I'm not gonna wait for you. That's it. Once the tail starts wagging the dog, you lost control. So, so that was, I think there's it's more lessons to be learned, making sure people have to pay attention to detail than trying to win a meet. If we have to leave someone like Dana. Dana came back, God rest his soul, Virgo, but he came back. I had a group of high jumpers he'd heard about. I saw him one day, and he goes, well, he actually asked me, how's your high jumpers? I said, we got two guys going 6'6", another guy going 6'2" this year, because I'd love to see him. He said, well, man, come down anytime. He goes, when you jumping next? So I told him the day. He goes, all right. So he came down, and he said that was his message to the kids. He was like in his late 30s at the time. He goes, listen to this, man. He goes, I didn't always listen to him. I should have listened to him. He goes, just do it. Do what he tells you. Just stay on the right path. It was a really good message. It was really good to hear. And the kids that knew who he was, because like what you said with the record boards, and I started in the hallway even. Yeah, Jeff and Joe. Yeah, Billy DePina. Oh, what a character! Another 6'6" high jumper, Billy DePina. He was only 5 feet 9 inches tall, and Billy ran a 49.4. I put in the hallway. There was plexiglass along that hallway, so I took over like 2 or 3 sections of the plexiglass, and I made yearly collages. Besides that one that was in the inside the phys ed office, I'd have ones there, and what I'd put up would be pictures of mostly current kids, but I'd have a few of the old timers who had a record or something, so kids would see who maybe Chris Wheeldon was, who's threw the shot 59 feet back in '83, or Fufu, Jeff Correa, picture maybe up him for the new kids. So it'd be something for them to. And then I had pictures of every team that won the state title, holding the plaque, whatever, a group shot of the team after the meet, and have that all up. And it's too bad Laurie left, so her, Jeff's mom, because I remember one time I had Jeff down. It was the end of the school year, and I got him out of class. There was nothing going on to help me make this collage for next year.
Yep.
And so I show him the 76 state championship team. He was a sophomore at the time, Jeff. And I go, Jeff, can you pick me out of that picture? And I'm an assistant coach. I was like 22 years old, 23 years old in the picture. So out a couple of little distance guys that are in the picture. It was only a picture of maybe the best guys that ran in the big meet. So it was maybe 16 guys in the picture. No. Finally it gets to he picks Glenn Pius, who I mentioned earlier. Glenn is, just retired coach in the NFL with Atlanta Falcons, Chicago Bears, those guys. Glenn was that school record holder in discus. Glenn's about 6'2", 230 in this picture. And he picks him. I go, you're being ridiculous now. I mean, that's not me. He picked Carlos Vieira, 30 kid, sitting there. And the CB Express, we call him. I go, no. Finally, he goes over this little squirt on the backside, back row, and he goes, is that you? And I go, that's me, Jeff. He goes, if you look like that now, you'll never come out for track and field.
Your story's a classic. I'm so glad you came on and
I love talking about the Bedford High and the Bedford track, and it's like you said, those birthday things I do on Facebook. I love doing those things.
yeah,
Yeah,
you can't even. I mean, this is priceless right now, especially with me hearing it. Others hearing it either now or later. And it's very important. I can't even. I see videos of other people that I've met over the years, and some of the things they would say, and whether it's about me or others, and we have lost so much footage from back. We don't have it anymore. Where it's only because you couldn't maintain them all those years.
yeah.
And I'm so glad that there's this digital age where we get videos and we're able to maintain them for years to come. Um,
Yeah, well, those pictures from my old days, thank God for Dick Pont, because as the AD, he would go and take pictures of all the sports, whether it was football or it was tennis. He'd be there. He did that slideshow he did at the end of the year. He'd always have that annual slideshow. So most of these pictures are his slides. Either he helped convert with me. He's done it just in recent years. He has a little thing in his basement, and he was converting it for me, or I brought him to a professional to hang out a lot because it was, he only has so many hours in the day to be doing that. And so that's a lot of those pitches were Dick's pitches. Some I pilfered from Ronnie Barboza. He's basically a pro photographer. And the other guy was Nelson Murray of Murray Studios, and he always did the yearbook. And Nelson would always give me his leftovers because I didn't have time to take pictures of the meet. I'm busy coaching, And people say that to me. Boy, you took all the pictures of the meet. I said I never took one picture of the meet. I sometimes would videotape kids so we could analyze technique and stuff. But usually, even that, I'd give the camera to somebody else to do it because it just threw me off. I really couldn't really be looking at what they were doing right there in the moment. But Nelson felt sorry for me. He used to, there was people like a couple. Me and Mr. Roundsville, or me and Bob Lillardall coaching, and we'd have 102 of us. Or when Darren first started coaching, was actually one year was Darren was the oldest of the group. I had Darren, Chris Wheeldon, had started working. Steve Drayton, he coached with me. Aguinaldo Ferreira. I had a crew of guys that were like 20 years old, and me coaching guys and girls combined. We had like 100 guys and 100 girls. It was like, well, I was coaching both teams when you were there. For 2 years, I was the head 84 and 85, both teams, guys and girls, outdoors. And that was 200 kids. And basically, you had a young coaching staff. It was me and them. I was teaching them basically how to coach in the events and how to, even though they ran them for me, but also just kind of, you got to give them space because you're coaching with the kid, but also kind of help them learn how to do it the right way. And that was great. And that was great when I got to UMASS to finally have Darren. And then I had Hal Miller with me that was on my first teams at New Bedford High. He graduated in 78. So when I was an assistant with Dick, he was a sophomore. And he coached with me from 2012 through my last year as head coach, 2018 at UMass. And so we had a staff of Hal and Darren and myself. It was all New Bedford. And that last year, well, Darren had passed.
Yeah.
But in 18, that UMass Dartmouth team, we go to the Open News, which is all division. Northeastern's there, Dartmouth College is there, BC was there, BU, UMass Amherst, and we came in fourth as a team in that 2008. It was the highest finish ever Division III school in New England. No other team. A couple others have done. I think Williams has been in once before, and it was like two other Division III schools that finished fourth, never higher than that. We were actually winning the meet after the 2-day meet. The first day we come back on Saturday on the scoreboard. There's UMass Dartmouth at the top. We had like 28 points already, and it was like I told them the school put the website right now, and they go, well, we're gonna wait till the meet's over and write them. I mean, to the end of the meet, you got to put it up now. We're in first place. This is never going to happen again. This is we're ahead of all these teams. You can show all the other Division I schools that we're ahead of, and we're sitting here with obviously no scholarships in Division III, and we don't even have an indoor facility to use during the winter to prepare to get to this outdoor season. And it was great, and a lot of the guys that did well were guys Darren had coached up through that year,
Wow.
and they, and his name was mentioned often that weekend, of his impact as well. So that was cool to do that with him and with Hal.
That's
By the way, shameless plug, anyone's popcorn, Hal Miller's proprietor of Incognito Popcorn, INPOPNITO Popcorn. It's a big seller. So like 100 brands, they have all that different type of well-made popcorn, whatever it is. There's a store report on Dame Street, and he has a production facility in Fall River.
wow.
And yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I have to check that out.
Yeah.
I can't even, coach. We could probably go on forever.
We'll lose viewers though. If we do, we'll lose viewers.
Let's see. I used to like how you guys, got together, the coaches, and you and Coach Gonzalez, Mickey Gonzalez, and you guys were just comical. You definitely belonged on TV, and you talk about your one of your athletes saying, he didn't know you were like this, and it's true, man. But you guys definitely. I can't think of that sitcom there with the coach on it. Yeah, it's Coach. It's called Coach.
Oh yeah.
We could have wrote a better script just using you guys.
Yeah, it's some stuff because you can't make up some of the things. But he's talking about Mickey. One thing I miss having left New Bedford, and now it's you're walking into Bedford. Some people, honestly, why should they know who you are? Because it's been so long. I got a good story on that one too, though, to end up with. But what I started doing when you were on the team, I lived over on Willow Street off of Shawmut Ave on a third floor apartment. But I bought a house in Marion, and so I started having in the summer, just before fall sports would start, we'd have all the sports, whether it was Manny Meadows from soccer, or Wayne Hamilton football, and Eddie Rice with basketball, and Mickey and whoever, and we'd have a big cookout at my house. Do steaks, burn the whole thing, and they have all the coaching staffs there, and just have a good time to get together before it's time to go back to work again. And it was nice. It bonded everybody together as a group that we're all in this regardless of the sport, whether it's, Neil Macedo in volleyball or whoever, they were there. And we just something to say, all right, we got about 10 months now to go back to work. We had a little rest here in the summer. It's time to start up again. And we all pulled for each other. But the funny story about not knowing who they are, let me finish this one. This isn't long ago. I'm recruiting at the Division I meetings at Andover, I think it was. So I'm talking to Isaiah Houtman, and these couple of these girls walk over, his athletes, and say this is like 2015. So because I know who I was recruiting that day from Somerville, a boy I was over there that watching him high jump or whatever. And so these two girls come over and go, Coach, to Isaiah, hey, some girl with some lady with an Emmanuel sweatshirt on said to say hello. So I knew right away who it was. It was Shantae Soares, right? And because she was coaching at Emmanuel College. So I said, do you know who that lady is? And the girls go, no. And I go, her name's Shantae Soares. And that little girl almost long jumped 19 feet and went to New England in 2000. She jumped 18.10 and had a foul about 19.2 on her last jump. And then went to UMASS Amherst. She was an Atlantic 10 Athlete of the Week for the whole conference. And just had a tremendous career at UMass Amherst too. So you see, it doesn't matter about size because she's only about 5 feet tall. But actually, the coach called me at New Bedford High when she was a freshman at UMass Amherst. So in 2000, fall 2000, and I answered the phone at the school visit office. He goes, and I knew their strength and conditioning coach. He goes, Shantae. Let me say hello. He just goes, Shantae Soares. I go, yep. He goes, this is Barbara Trondo. So, how are you? He goes, strongest girl in the whole UMass Amherst athletic department, pound for pound. And so anyways, as she the two girls walk away after me give them a thing on Shantae's swords. I say, he goes, you know what you're saying to each other right now? I go, what? He goes, who's that old guy anyways? You're right. They had no idea who I was. They know who I am. That was funny. That's a good one by yeah.
That's unbelievable. Shantae, she's dear to me. Definitely one of the gems that you had on that field.
Yeah. She did a video. Some kids did videos for MF Athletic, which is where you pretty much buy all your track and field. It's high jump pits, it's starting blocks, it's batons, it's poles, whatever. You pretty much get it from MF. And they have this video series, come to whatever practice, come to high jump practice, come to 100 practice. So she did come to 100 meter. She was the person in the video who come to 100 meter practice. And Jameson Barber was come to 400 meter practice.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Simmons and Mallory Rossi would come to strength practice. Mallory Rossi did some stuff they couldn't believe she could do.
Yep.
Like some forward lunge, single legs lunges and squats with weight attached as well, and doing it as a little sophomore at the time. And they're like, I said, we don't fool around. We work hard in the weight room. It's like, Shantae was a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Herself. But yeah, we had a few of those videos where our kids doing them. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Shantae, she could leave the track and go right across the street behind.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So her mother always knew where she was.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Coach, you got about it's gonna wrap it up. I can't say enough words about you. You definitely first impressions were unbelievable when I first met you. And I hope you continue to do what you've been doing for decades now. And UMASS has a diamond, and I hope you continue to stay there.
Well, we got a good guy coming as the head coach now, a guy Mike Sam. I had to step down because I can't do full-time work at the pension situation. And I always told him, if you can make that job full-time. I was working like 60 hours a week, but I couldn't get paid for the 60 hours. Getting paid like I was part-time. But they were able to combine the cross-country job, which was full-time with the time back with the track. And so my advice effectively knocked me out of my job, but it was for the best, because at my age, I told them, look, how long am I going to be able to do this at the level I'm doing it? And if I stay with this job as part-time and you lose that full-time slot, then when I'm stepped down, you're going to, it's the way the state works, you may never get that slot back. And so you're better off doing it now. And it just worked out. I was able to stay on as the assistant. So so it worked out, and he's doing a great job. So
hey, I'm always here to support you.
David.
And is David, good friend of mine. You need anything, anything.
I appreciate it, Charlie. It's funny. You weren't New Bedford for the high school for the 4 years. I can still picture you coming into the phys ed office when you had gym. You were one of those guys that would come in and talk to all the coaches or all the teachers in there. And I wasn't a phys ed teacher, but I was teaching health right down the hallway. So in between classes, it took forever for kids to get down. Pretty much the full 5 minutes you had to pass to go from one end of the building to get to I'm the last in the building. So I'd float in there, give them a hard time. And, they kind of thought it was great when I was leaving, that I wasn't going to be around to come in at 7 o'clock in the morning and be loud and laughing and stuff. But I think they missed it.
Exactly. Well, 2021, I hope is good for you. And
appreciate it. Same to you and yours too.
Yep. You stay safe. And if you want to do this again, we can do it again. It could be about anything, but I'm always on. Every week I'm doing this. Every few days somebody comes up with something, I'll put them on. So
all right, good.
Thank you.
Good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I truly love you. Thank you very much.
Same here, Charlie. Right back at you. All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, man, that was definitely a great, great, great story. Unbelievable. I can't even tell you how I feel right now, other than completely happy. And this man is definitely, he's touched so many lives. And I mean, I'm pretty sure he knows it. But if you all can, just leave some comments. You have some stories that we didn't touch up on. Please put in the comment section, because this video is always going to be here, and maybe Coach can check them out later and answer, your questions, or comment on your stories. So thank you very much. As I always say every week, mask those beautiful faces, hand sanitize, wash your hands, stay safe, keep yourself safe, keep others safe. I love you guys, and stay tuned for some other great shows on the Really Charlie podcast. Air here on StreamYard, Anchor, Spotify, and Facebook. If you need to reach out to me, my email is reallycharliepodcast@gmail.com. And you want to hear something, we'll get it done. Thank you very much.